me on Twitter. The poster was featured alongside the soundtrack for that episode of that anime. And because it was trending, my curiosity got the better of me, so I had to check it out. I told my husband I was planning on watching it, and I guess when he was looking it up to cue it, he got interested too. So he asked me to wait so we could watch it together, and so we did. Before watching it, he claimed that it was probably going to be just like every other game/leveling type anime. I told him since there was a dime a dozen, there must have been a reason why people were specifically going on and on about this one. But from experience, whenever the general populace gathers in a digital town square to discuss something at length and ad nauseum, there's usually some merit to it. The same thing happened with Chainsaw Man, One Punch Man, and Attack on Titan. And those turned out to be very good franchises and experiences for me personally, even though I've been waiting at the time of this video forever for the next One Punch Man season to come back to the point where I might be old by the time the next season comes out. Still, my old partner had his doubts, and understandably so. There's enough copycat anime that have done this exact same concept over and over again, and while they can still be enjoyable, sometimes it feels like the same old, same old. And so we watched the first episode of Solo Leveling, and oh my god. It didn't take long before we combed through all the rest. The first thing that I noticed about this anime is that every single person's name, along with the currency, seemed to be South Korean. It made me curious because everybody here in this anime is South Korean, but yet the animation looks like something straight from out of a Japanese animation studio, but yet it's also in every language. Come to find out that the source material is a South Korean webtoon. So the intro to Solo Leveling throws you right into the action of these people fighting off a horde of insects. You're almost convinced that this is a simulation and people are either playing a game and these are their avatars, or they're in a world where video game stuff is just completely normal to them. It's revealed not long after that a portal opened up to another world where these creatures come through, and certain people became awakened with powers to fight them off, called hunters. The only difference in this world that is kind of now fused with elements of RPG gaming is that once you get a level or your power is awakened, that is the level you maintain, from my understanding. So if your power is awakened and you're a level E, or a low-level person with low-level type power and abilities, you will always be that unless a very rare situation occurs. Enter our underdog main character, Sun Jin-woo. He's nothing special and has the world's worst haircut. Okay, maybe it's not that bad, but still, he has that typical good boy, innocent, immature, and naive anime mop head haircut pre-glow up stage. That's the haircut everybody has before they level up and become super hot, which I imagine is going to happen later on. There's something amazing about an anime guy glow up like this.
Baby girl love my bop and unlike me too. No roof on my top and my babe see through.
The character has clear motivation to keep doing this work, to get loot or at least some money for being involved with just participating during a raid. Don't worry, for people who have never played RPGs or are not familiar with the genre of gaming, you are still able to be introduced to this world through the exposition, which is done quite well. I've seen other video game integration type anime, and Solo Leveling is honestly one of the very few cases where I've seen them expertly mesh the two, real world concepts and video gaming concepts. By the way, if you guys have not done RPG or MMORPGs or dungeon crawlers like Diablo or Wolcen, it's really worth trying out, especially if you're doing it with friends, like a local co-op. It's really rewarding. And this game basically, this anime basically walks you through the elements of it while integrating it into their real world schematics. And again, I'm surprised at how well they incorporate this. So back to Jin-woo. His motivation, despite him being the weakest hunter of all time and always getting hurt and barely making it out alive each dungeon, hence him being called the weakest hunter of all time, a name that everyone's giving him, he still puts himself in danger because his mom is really sick. And it's a great way to make money and to pay for her bills, and also to hopefully send his little sister to college to become a doctor. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and not just with the monsters, but with the corruption, even within this new emergent profession of monster hunting. Likewise, the bounty and loot from slaying the monsters in these portals or dungeons and instances result in very valuable materials that don't readily exist in their world. Monetarily, there's that motivation alone, and so it makes sense on a very relatable level why people would want to go inside these portals to fight these monsters in the first place. There's an organization that puts ranks on people depending on their power level, so they don't put people who are too weak in a dungeon with level monsters that are too powerful. And powerful people are rare, but also in high demand. Then you guessed it, our little character Jin-woo is weaker even for his low level. Then you have this female character who's a healer and she's a rank B. She's supposed to be really powerful, but she has some real self-esteem issues, and she's the one person that cares for our character a lot and loved him as he is and accepted him as he is and was nice to him despite everyone making fun of him. As is with most anime, you got a lot of moving parts. You got this mysterious girl that is really powerful, graceful, but yet very humble. And by the end of episode 1, as soon as they're like, we're gonna go into this other part of the dungeon that's not mapped out, I was like, someone's gonna die. Someone's gonna die. I was already predicting that this guy, something that happens to him in this situation, either his whole crew gets killed off for something he has guilt, he's gonna get imbued with some magical power or something. That part of it's kind of predictable, but the way it happens is just badass. And this dungeon is actually so cool. I would love more games like this. I actually was watching this anime and I'm thinking to myself, man, wouldn't it be awesome if Solo Leveling became an actual anime? And I don't mean another dungeon crawler that just looks like a copy of Diablo. We have a dime a dozen of those. One that has the anime aesthetic and this kind of storyline too. And oh my god, it's like my chest opened up and gave itself as a sacrifice to the gods above, because apparently they're making a game just like this based on this story. And so when we realize that they are now in a low-level dungeon but have now come across a part of this dungeon that's not even a part of the dungeon that was mapped out, and they have these god tier super leveled bosses in it that they can barely survive for their levels, now we're like, oh boy, how are they gonna make it out of here? And that's how they hook you. And man, does it hook you. And the one thing I also loved about this anime too is the cliffhanger syndrome. Good lord. This anime does cliffhangering so well. I can't explain to you how fast I want to continue on to the next episode. Seeing our main character go through hell and high water to survive when he barely can, losing limbs, and getting so hurt to the point where his healer friend can't even heal him, and knowing that he ends up sacrificing himself and not knowing whether or not he's gonna die, really hooks you into the story, particularly by the end of the second episode. Then Jingwoo is brought back and given a second chance, having grown back his limbs. Aware of the total mystery that now lies before him, when he sees interfaces for something similar to that of a video game, telling him that he needs to complete training and all of these other daily tasks, the way you would in a regular RPG or MMO. However, despite this, the people who come to investigate what happened in that specific dungeon suspect that he's had a reawakening, which is like a second chance at getting a more powerful power, but apparently he's even too weak for his rank, as they point out. And then seeing him discover these powers over time and level up and get physically stronger, and seeing the effects of him getting physically stronger and then having to be faced with situations where he has to use his power or the stuff in his inventory that he saved before. For people who are gamers, we find this so relatable, because all I'm thinking to myself is, man, now I want to go play a game like this. This is making me want to go and play Baldur's Gate. We've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. We took a break to play Palworld. And this makes me want to go back and play Baldur's Gate 3. Or just something RPG oriented. But I want something more. This specific type of genre, mixed with the storytelling elements of the Solo Leveling anime, makes me yearn for something that's a perfect amalgamation of what we got in Solo Leveling. The art style, the incorporation of the RPG elements in a sort of open world, that would be freaking amazing. And then not only that, seeing your character evolve and look more badass as he starts to level up. Ooh, and they showed the physical part. There's nothing I love more than watching anime characters glow up, bro. Ugh. And then you see everybody in the hospital just fawning over him, and you get to see his physicality increase alongside his skill set. They also incorporate the harrowing experience of that dungeon that he went in. Having faced death already, it facilitates him being able to deal with certain things and push himself further and further. The comedic elements are well placed. The character development is amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see where this story goes. And my only regret is that I found this anime at a time when it was still being aired, so I had to wait for the story to progress. It's not one of those anime I could just binge, and that is annoying, because there's nothing worse than watching an anime show and then getting caught in a cliffhanger and needing to wait for freaking 5 years like One Punch Man until the next, not knowing whether or not it will actually finish. It's the scariest thing ever. But Solo Leveling is one of those reasons why I absolutely love anime. I know there's some people in the community who are talking about how they got anime burnout and they don't watch anime anymore, and I just don't understand why. Maybe, I guess, for some people that's their shtick, But there are so many endless concepts to anime in which they can illustrate and portray in so many different executions that I find it impossible to ever get bored. There's so many that I don't ever think in my lifetime I would finish all of them. And I think this character is also relatable to so many people because of where he started out and the fact that he's still growing. And even though he becomes a bit overpowered, they do it in a way that is palatable and doesn't feel boring and still feels like he actually is experiencing a really good challenge with things that are more powerful, while also watching the people around him admire his growth. So we not only see it from our perspective, but we want other people to see it too and admire him. One of the greatest things about anime is watching someone get their powers and then knowing that they're better than they were and everybody saw them as this wimp, and then watching them show up those people, because it's a very human attitude to want to go back and prove everybody wrong. And anime also incorporates that really well. Anyway, I just wanted to love on this anime. I love it. Good grief. It is some wicked piece of entertainment, bro. What do you guys think about it? What's your favorite anime? And have you seen other anime in this genre that do this or do it better? Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.